how to build a 7-figure B2B business.
What I did is that you start by working in a B2B company, learn about the business. Sales for me was like a dirty word, but then I realized its importance when I started Fame.
How do you think someone could fast track that learning? Like if you had to summarize it in, I don't know, 30, 45 seconds.
Open a small talk, make them comfortable, understand what they're trying to achieve. The next stage in order to get 50 clients is hiring. We like to bring on people that like to work autonomously and remotely.
So what is the secret to 1, sourcing good talent, 2, trusting them, and 3, retaining that talent?
The first one. This episode is sponsored by MailTrap, an email delivery platform designed for product companies. Go for high deliverability, growth-focused features, and industry-best analytics. Get 20% off for all plans with our promo code B2B Entrepreneur. Check the details in the description below.
Sam Dunning, I'm here with Sir Tom Hunt, CEO, founder at Fame. We're going to dive into exactly how you can do the same for your B2B company. Tom, how are we doing, sir?
I'm very good. It's great to meet in person. Shall I take the mic? It's great to meet in person. Shall I just tell you how to do it?
Yeah,
Let's focus on the service company, because I've never built a software company to anything close to that. I think, and what I did is that you start by working in a B2B company. So you get a job first. And what that enables you to do is learn about the business. And to give a specific example, I was head of marketing at a B2B software company. We started a podcast. The podcast went really well. And essentially the company that I started was a podcast agency, and they were the first client. And so what I did is I spent a year learning how to do this thing really well for a B2B company. And then because I was doing it so well, hopefully, or that's why they came over, it was very easy for me to be like, I'm going freelance. Do you want to be the first client? They became the first client, and they're still a client today, 5 years later. And so you can basically get someone else to pay you to do that learning. And so that's step one, is to like get really good at delivering a service or process.
Yeah. I'm on an earlier journey, and that's pretty much what I did. Like do the skill. So in your case, it was podcasting. My case, like SEO, but before that, web dev, and then start doing a little bit on the side to kind of see, I suppose, one, if you actually like doing it as a side thing. Secondly, if you can actually get some cash, get some revenue, get some clients, and enjoy the process. Do you think that's always the way? I do think that's the only way to do it.
I don't think it's the only way to do it, but you have to, if you're going to deliver a service to a B2B company, you have to be able to be really good at service. And so what other way can you do that without just delivering it for somebody? So let's say you've done that. You worked for like 5 years for a company. You got really good at delivering this service. You have left, and fortunately they have become the first client. The next step is then to make sure you deliver that service for them really well, so you get that testimonial. And then the next step is how you then go and get the next 9 clients to get to 10. And so the way I would probably do that is by getting my testimonial and sending it to like as many people that you know that could buy that service. That's the first step. And then the skill you're gonna have to learn in order to get to 10 is sales, if you don't have that, because you're then gonna have to get on a call with them and then sell them effectively.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So step 1, learn the skill inside another company. Step 2, acquire a client while still working that business. Step 3, get up to 10 clients using your network, but you've got to learn sales. How important do you think sales is? I've got a strong viewpoint on this, but a lot of founders aren't natural salespeople, right? You've got technical founders, you've got marketers, you've got founders that are involved in the product, you've got founders that are more into marketing. Like what would you say, like on a scale of, I don't know, if you want to do a percentage weightage, like how important is selling as opposed to the rest of the business, especially in the early days of building?
So to answer that question, we have to define selling. For me, selling is trying to influence someone one-on-one. And really as a founder, that's what you have to do like all the time. I'll give you an example. This morning, we bought this business. I need someone else from the team to essentially run this business. And so the call this morning was essentially me selling that person on that role. And so that's kind of like recruiting, but I'm also selling. So it's absolutely crucial for you to be effective in your role to influence people one-to-one. And in this example, the first use case of this is you selling to somebody else in your network to try and get them to give you money for the service that you created.
Everything is sales. How did you learn to sell? Did you pick it up, or did you get a framework? Did you read books, or kind of make it up as you go along?
So yeah, sales for me was like a dirty word up until I started Fame. It was like when we were coming out of uni, anyone that went in sales, it was like you were not intelligent. You had to get into sales. Harsh. Yep. But then I realized its importance when I started Fame. And so then the question is, how do I learn sales? I guess I read a lot of books. I fortunately got to work with quite a lot of good salespeople in that role we were speaking with and in other roles. And so I kind of probably picked up a bit, but then I just started doing it because I had to. I had to get from one client, my old employer, to 10 clients. And it probably took a year. And I had to personally sell them, like it was one-to-one sales for those 10, and I still do sales calls today.
How do you think someone could fast track that learning? Like if you had to summarize it in, I don't know, 30, 45 seconds, like what would you say, like if I could know these 1, 2 or 3 things now to get me from sales noob to sales, I don't want to say pro, but at a decent level, is there something you'd give advice-wise?
I think you just have to get really good at the sales conversation, which in my mind is this. It's like open, small talk, make them comfortable, understand what they're trying to achieve, work out in your head if what you have can help them achieve that. If no, try and help them by sending them somewhere else or giving them advice. If yes, explain what you have and then try and get them to take an action. So that like those 4 steps, I think is a thing that you just have to get good at. And the way you get good at it is by doing like 200 sales calls through that process. That's also the process I had to go through today when I was trying to convince this guy to run that company, run this part of our company. So it's like that 4-step process that you just have to get the reps in, I think.
Yeah, I like it. So we've got, do something on the side, make sure you're happy with it, get your first client, get up to 10 clients, get good at selling. And it sounds like being able to run a solid process, like a discovery call is almost what you've outlined there. What comes next?
So if we're at 10 clients, let's say we're charging $2,000 a month, so we're $20K a month. You can probably still be doing all the selling, all the operations and delivery as one person. Maybe you have some freelancers. The next stage in order to get to, let's go for 50 clients, is that you have to probably completely get, or not completely, but largely get out of the operations. So the next skill you need, which is connected to sales, is hiring. So you have to go and define exactly what the role is, find people to apply, run them through a process, and then sell that person on coming to join your company. So step 5 is going to be hiring, but then step 6 is going to be building that system so you can easily plug people in to do the roles, to deliver the service, and keep, ideally, close to the same level of high and happiness of when you're doing the thing. This is, I think, probably the biggest barrier for anyone starting a B2B service company, is how can you largely get yourself out of operations and get other people that you're paying to do the thing almost, it doesn't have to be as well as you, but almost as well as you.
Yeah, I love this because we're at a similar milestone at breaking B2B around 50K recurring, and we're trying to get to that next stage, but we're facing that bottleneck as we've got to hire a team in-house, so it's not just me doing everything, selling, marketing, operations, and beyond. So what is the secret to 1, sourcing good talent, and I guess 2, trusting them almost with your business, or you might call it your baby because you've built it up to now, and then 3, retaining that talent?
The first one, I actually don't think it's that hard, I would, just like if I'm selling, or we're going to get to marketing in a second, but with marketing, you have to first understand who you're trying to sell to, what they're trying to achieve, and then work out how you can communicate to them that you can deliver that. I think hiring's similar. For us, for example, we like to bring on people that like to work autonomously and remotely. And so our offering as a company is that you can be autonomous and you can work remotely. And so that's kind of the offer that we put in front of people when we're trying to get them to apply for a job. And so the titles of our job descriptions or job ads on LinkedIn, like awesome remote account manager needed for the podcast agency. And then in the description, we're talking about how we like people to work autonomously. So I think it's like a marketing challenge to get people to apply.
So where does marketing and advertising kick into play?
So I think too many businesses rely on marketing activities or sales activities that are bringing people into your funnel when they're not ready to buy. And so what we do, what we've always done, and we tried all the other stuff like outbound, etc., have never really worked. Maybe that's just because it's quite hard to convince someone to start a podcast, so maybe it's easier or more accepted for someone to do SEO. Anyway, so we like to rely on channels that put fame in front of people when they're on that journey to buying. And this is largely Google. So both paid and organic, because somebody is actively saying that they want to invest in a podcast. So we invest all our marketing dollars there, basically. So when someone goes to Google or ChatGPT now, searching for best podcast agency, it's likely we're going to get exposed because we've spent years trying to do this. The other one that works well here is referrals and word of mouth. We have partners that when somebody says to them they want to start a podcast, they refer us, so we worked on that. And then word of mouth is the output of you doing great work and getting the people stuff right. So my advice to this B2B founder, in order to get from 50K to 100K, is to invest in marketing, specifically in marketing channels that are demand driven, e.g. people have expressed interest in your service.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I suppose the only exception is if you're creating an offer as a founder, there's a new category that's perhaps less well known and folks aren't actively searching for it on Google because it's a new offer and they just don't know it exists. But the chances are, if you're a B2B founder or someone that's considering setting up a business, it probably is in a category that people know about. In my case, B2B SEO, in your case, B2B podcasting, etc. And I think that's smart. And I think there's a lot of information on channel platforms like LinkedIn and elsewhere, where you almost get overwhelmed with what you should be doing as a founder in terms of marketing and advertising. Like folks like build up a founder brand, build a newsletter, start a podcast, start a YouTube channel, start doing SEO, start doing ads, start doing social ads, all this kind of stuff, when really, like you said, you probably want to start with 2 or 3 channels where your dream clients are actively going when they have that sales intent. They actually want to speak to a salesperson. They're not messing around. They're not looking for information. They actually have that intent behind them. And that's where, like you say, Google Ads or SEO with a strategy behind it works well to capture that demand for folks actively looking for the offer. I want to go back to the hiring quickly before we wrap up this mini interview. Like, who should be, I didn't ask you this before, but who should be like the first couple hires? Like, what are the most important hires?
So we're looking to release your time. And so I would probably pick out the one thing in the delivery of the service that you're doing that is like either the thing that you least like doing or the thing that's easiest to give to somebody else. So I'll probably lift out the 5 things you're doing to deliver the client service and then rank them based on how much you like it and then how hard it would be to give that to somebody else. And then the lowest of those scores, or the highest, is the one that you'd hand over first. And it probably as a freelancer, maybe let's say you're running Google Ads and there's like setting up the campaign. It's very easy for you to outline the best practices and a working procedure. And then you can just hire somebody through Upwork for like $30 an hour to deliver that part. And then you're completely out of setting up the campaigns. That gives you more time, and then you can look at the next thing in the service delivery, which may be, I don't know, the reporting, and you give that away. And the next thing, which is like the client meetings, and you give that away. And so you're slowly peeling away the time. And then after you've given away the 5, then you're freed up to then work on the other stuff like the marketing and the sales.
What are going to be the biggest bottlenecks that you're likely to face at some of these stages that we've talked about?
I think it will be a really big hurdle is when, let's say you've done this and you have 5 freelancers and you can manage all of them. What you'll then find is that the hiring, onboarding, training, and management of these people starts to take up too much of your time. And so a big hurdle and a big bottleneck is the elevation where you have to bring in somebody else who's going to manage them. So they manage the 5 and you just manage the 1, you get your time back. But then you have to learn how to manage managers and you have to learn how to train managers, which is another whole skill set and another like ethos and understanding that you have to develop.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the high level. I wanted to keep this short and snappy, and I think we've done the job. So Tom, thanks very much for coming on this breaking B2B mini interview. Give a quick shout out to your company, Fame.
Fame.so. We do podcasts for B2B companies.
Podcast for B2B companies. Cheers for tuning in.